have a little fun? So I went to Business Mastery with this guy, Tony Robbins. He is like 7 feet tall. His hands, I have really large hands, are twice as big as mine. He is by far the greatest speaker on the entire planet. You will not find a better public speaker. This is his event on the 5th day. After 5 days, 15 hours a day. There are 1,800 people in this room that paid $10,000 and gave up 5 days. He is a billionaire. He does not sell tapes, my friend. He owns 14 companies. So he defines success as doing what you want, when you want, where you want, with whom you want, as much as you want. I think that we're all looking for what is success to us. Why do we have a business? I think it's important to know your answer to that question. Mine is to spend time with my family and my friends and play golf. The theme that stuck for me was he said that business is emotional warfare. It's really hard. And one of the things he says is the biggest chokehold on a business is the psychology and the skills of the owner. If you can change your psychology, you can change your business. So a lot of what he talks about and what I'll share with you is some psychology. And I apologize, we switched from Keynote to PowerPoint, so it doesn't look as pretty. But the 3 things he talks about is your state, your story, and your strategy. So your state, before he goes on stage, he gets on one of those little jumping trampolines and puts on earphones and listens to rock and roll that he likes. So when he comes out, he's like this, ladies and gentlemen, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And he does it for 6 hours, and he's hoarse. He can't talk. And he has voice coaches telling him he's got to quit speaking, but he loves it so much so he can't. He owns 6 or 7 houses. He has an ice pool that he jumps in every morning and shocks his body. He's trying to change his state. Randy is one of his coaches, or Thor is one of his coaches who's in EO with me. Your story is really important. What do you tell yourself you're good at, you're bad at, you like doing? What are the reasons you're doing it? What are you afraid of? What's your internal story that you tell yourself about your business and why you go work and what you like about it and what you don't like about it? And his point is, we all have screwed up stories. My parents got divorced, we didn't have any money, my wife's mean, my kids are terrible, whatever your story is. And he says you can rewrite your own story. And I'll share with that for you in a second. The last thing is strategy. We all know what that is. Does King of Pops buy a farm or outsource the food? I mean, that's pretty easy. What he tries to teach us to do is kill your story of limitation. You know, my business does $1 million. When I started in 2001, it was $25,000. In the year 2, it was $150,000. It's been $1.5 million for 4 years in a row. I don't believe I can get it to $5 million. So that's my story, and it's a limiting belief. One of the things he talks about is it's not the facts that make you miserable, it's your perception of the facts. And the good news is you get to decide how you react to the facts of your business and your customers and everything that's happening to you. It's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And that's a decision. No one makes that decision for you but yourself. One of the things he spent a lot of time talking about and telling stories about was it's not about your resources, it's about your resourcefulness. One of the things he talks about is the power of proximity. In EO, we have a lot of proximity. Hanging out with very successful people will make you more successful. He goes on a plane with 8 billionaires. One guy owns all of Canada. And he was very intimidated. You know, he made these silly tapes in the 80s, unlimited power. And he's doing pretty well, but he's not a billionaire. And he gets on this big Gulfstream jet, and they go to China and Thailand and build homes and do all this cool stuff for like 2 weeks. And the richest guy on the plane grabs him and says, Tony, you don't seem comfortable and you've been with us for 2 weeks. And he goes, well, you guys are all billionaires. He goes, Tony, everywhere we went, people came up to you and cried and hugged you and said, you changed my life. Nobody does that to us. We're awed by you. So what he talks about is the billionaires are resourceful. They find a way to get it done. They grew up poor. They didn't have money when they got started. So our resourcefulness as entrepreneurs is a really big deal. Another thing he talked about, most dreams die on the tyranny of how. What he says is your job as the leader is decide what you want to do, where you want to go. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Focus on the why it's important to take King of Pops from 3 million to 10 million. Why is that important? It's not the money. And Tony calls himself the why guy. If you look on TED Talks, he has an amazing talk on TED, and it talks about the why and the power of why. So one of the things he advised was, you as the leader develop what you want and where we're all going, and then let your team figure out how, because they're the ones that got to do the work. Don't tell them how. Just say, here's where we are, here's where we want to go. How are we going to get there? One of the things I'm really guilty of is I went to grad school and wrote really long business plans, and I like writing really long marketing plans for our clients and doing a lot of research and data analysis and da-da-da-da-da-da. And my employees' eyes glaze over because I talk too much. And he says, complexity is the enemy of execution. If you make something complex, no one's going to do it. So you have to sum things up in A, B, C for people. And if you're at D, you're in trouble. So it resonated with me. I just wanted to share it with you. The thing that Randy and I spent, we did a retreat on the way down to Hilton Head and talked a long time. What's the key thing for Tony? And for me, it sounds like it's your standards or your identity. And so I looked it up online, your standards, how you define ourselves, what we believe we can achieve. And what Tony does is he helps you build new empowering beliefs that help you achieve more. And that's what the 5 days of all those people dancing are. He'll have people, 800 people. He said, all right, raise your hand if you think you're sexy. Of course I raised my hand. Thank you, Tony. Well, this beautiful girl next to me didn't raise her hand. And she was 250 pounds, beautiful. Tony comes up, makes her stand up in a room with 250 people. Why don't you think you're sexy? I'm overweight. Seen the internet? Do you know that a lot of people like people that are overweight? Do you think everyone likes the stick? Guys, how many people like her? And so he taught her that her beliefs were broken. And he said, guys, don't you think everybody in the room's like, she is beautiful, And she's crying, and she's standing there like this. So he gets her to poke her sternum out and yell, I am sexy. And the whole week, he walked around with this power. But he switched her mindset. So your identity is really important. Another story, a personal story about standards. My buddy and I, he's a multi-millionaire. We're playing basketball in Connecticut. We drive an hour to a basketball court by a school, play basketball for 3 hours. We leave a big basketball pole. Back to his house. He says, Monday, and standard is don't be, and it's pretty amazing to me that he went back to drive. For kids, he doesn't know. So I'm finishing up kind of with what I took away from it. He says, we all have multiple personalities, and you can shift your personality. So one of the guys in my forum that's a big Tony fan, he's been to 3 of them since he went to Business Mastery. Home, he takes off all his stuff, and he puts on shorts and a T-shirt so he can switch into being a dad and not this guy. And you got to control the hat you're wearing and your personality that you have. And the point is that we can control and shift our personality. So one of the things that he screams at us and had you stand up in a chair and say, winter is coming and I am a gladiator. And you would scream it with 1,800 people. And I'm going to kick winter's ass. When you're doing it with 1,800 people, it's much more cool. So that's what, I can show you that tape because it's really awesome. I'll sit there and watch it, and I'll put on the music. So Randy, his gladiator name, as I call it, is Thor. Mine is AFW, and my first name's John, my last name's W. Let you figure out the F. So that really resonated with me, and he stood me up, and he said, how do you get business? Again, I was looking for help from him, and I said, I play golf, and I'm nice to people. I walk around, and business comes my way. He goes, that's not very strategic, is it? He goes, the nice guy runs your business, and the gladiator needs to run your business. And that really stuck with me a lot. So my last slide, I wanted to share with you what I think being a gladiator is for me. It's raise your standards. It's rewrite your personal story and how you perceive it. It's kill your story of limitation. It's kill your dependency on certainty. There's 6 personality traits. Entrepreneurs love certainty, believe it or not. And starts with an S, Randy. Thank you, significance. So, all uncertainty is fun, variety. But isn't it weird that people that take all the risk like certainty, and I do. That's why I stay at $1.5 million, because going to 3 million is uncertain. Think bigger, take risks. One of the analogies I like he uses is snowboarding, carve or die. If you don't carve, you're going to hit the wall. And it takes a lot of courage to grind that snowboard into the mountain when you're just learning how to snowboard. Become more resourceful, avoid the tyranny of how, simplify the complex. And the last one is what he calls an early morning success ritual. And that's kind of like get up early, exercise, eat right, meditate, look at your top 5 things you're going to do that day. Think about how many times we rush out the door, show up for work, and open our email. That's not very strategic. So it changed my life. He's the greatest speaker on the planet. If you ever have an opportunity to go see one of the events, I'd recommend it. Thanks for your time.